Welcome back, folks. Hey, Kristen, what do we have for this week?
Hey, everyone. Welcome back. This week we have a fantastic guest for all of you to listen to. It's a really long episode, but we really want you to get to it and listen to it, so we won't take up too much of your time. This week's episode was a really inspirational guest. He has a fantastic award-winning docudrama out, and his words of inspiration really meant a lot to us before and after we got to speak with him. Him and Eddie were two peas in a pod this week. He is the Eddie from across the pond. So remember, if you love this episode and the show, to please leave a review. It means a lot to us. And share this episode with a friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, Eddie Gagnon. And in the opposite corner, Kristen Gagnon. This is What's Special About Special.
I wanted to say that.
Well, hello there. My name's Eddie Gagnon.
Eddie, I don't want to be here all night.
Welcome and thank you for joining us. My name's Eddie Gagnon. That was perfect. Kristen.
Your voice. Well, welcome everybody back. Welcome, Prakash. We have today as a guest, and we're really excited about having this guest on. We have Prakash Radhakrishnan. Welcome, Prakash.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Prakash is the creator of This Is Me docudrama. It's a documentary. It's up on YouTube. You can find it there. We really loved it. Eddie was moved to tears pretty quickly. It was awesome. You got him.
No, it is. I mean, it is in kind of just my natural intuition. Watching the movie, and as it progressed, I was like, I know exactly where we're going, and so it's very relatable. And for me, in the way that it was presented, is
as
definitely
a caretaker,
very relatable. Yeah.
In general, yeah.
Yep. So amazing, powerful. It was awesome. So, but of course, before we get into, the big thing that we have our guests for, we do like to get to know you a little personally. So before we get into that, we'd like to hear you to tell us about your story. So for starters, where are you from?
So I am born and raised in London, UK. Or Great Britain, as some people refer it to.
Yeah, honestly, I'm 34 and I still struggle with that. Is it London or Great Britain?
United Kingdom. Yeah. London is the city.
Yeah. See, I don't even know.
Just say London. It encompasses everything for everyone.
Sweet.
So you're from London.
Yeah, so I'm actually just from a small village outside of London, closer to Heathrow Airport.
Okay.
So luckily, there's no planes flying overhead at the moment. Otherwise, you'd hear them. I was born here. I'm not going to say how many years ago, but let's just say a while ago. Raised in the UK. My parents are of Indian origin. Mother's from Malaysia. Dad's from India. I settled here in the UK, so I'm classed as, I would say, a second generation Asian within the UK. And then that's pretty much as the story progressed. So I've got 3 elder siblings. 2 of them have got special needs. One is my sister and one is my twin brother, who he takes every opportunity, like every twin, to remind me that he is the older of the 2 twins. And does it get annoying? Absolutely every time, but hey, sibling love is sibling love. And then I've got another elder brother, similar to myself, campaigning and working towards equality and inclusion of disabilities and special needs of all sorts.
So you are the baby of the family.
I would like to think so. Until I got married and then my wife took over that mantelpiece. I'm trying to get back, but I keep getting told that's never going to happen. But never say never, right? Possibilities are always to be created, but
I know, but I believe her on that one.
That's a topic for another day.
And you said your mother and your brother also, they work in the disabilities advocacy community as well?
Yeah. So my brother mainly, he runs a freight forwarding company, but he also does this on the side, similar to myself. Mom's a retired nurse, so she's got a background in the medical background, which is dangerous to have.
Yeah.
Someone who knows a medical background, but also is mummy bear, so to speak.
Yeah.
So going into a hospital with someone who knows medical background is great for me.
Yeah.
You can say, Mom, right, there's your job. Let's take care of it. But yeah, and Dad's pretty much the glue that holds everyone sane together.
Yeah.
Just keeps maintaining general normality within the house with his singing random jokes and random sports vernacular that he comes up with. But
I seem to find that
that's the job.
Moms that in this community are either moms that were nurses that then just become these like powerhouse advocates, or they become nurses because they're already kind of a nurse in a way. So they just go into the nursing field because why not, right?
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
a nurse on a regular basis sometimes.
I guess the maternal instincts of them is already there. I can only imagine what it may be. I guess our only comparison would be the paternal instincts of what a father would do when he becomes a father. Full protection of the child. So from mother's point of view, it's already there, and to expand on it when you're already a nurse, can only take her to a whole new level. And that's definitely what I've seen during her professional career, as well as post-retirement as well. That mantelpiece of constantly Googling, making sure you're staying ahead of the times from a medical point of view to obviously help facilitate the care and needs of my two siblings, which we'll go into. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that. Like, growing up, what was home like with two siblings with special needs disabilities?
For me, it was more normality because, again, I was born into it. So it's not as though I knew anything different. But at the first couple of years, or some of the first moments or memories that I've got, it's thinking, why is he very noisy? Why is he very hyperactive? He's always giggling. He's always laughing, which there was nothing wrong with it. But then obviously later on, the more I grew, the more I understood that this isn't the status quo, because siblings outside of my network, maybe when I go to school, they're all talking about going away for the weekend, doing things with their brothers, sisters, this or another. But all I could think about is, hang on, I've got to go home and take care of my brother and sister, rather than going, say, for a birthday party or a wedding or a function or even to the movies, something as simple as that.
Yeah. Right.
And for my sister, my interaction with my sister wasn't that much in the beginning, because she was in a care home. Okay. In the beginning years that I remember.
How many years apart are you?
She only, between myself and my sister?
Yeah.
That would be about 6 years.
Okay, so a pretty big gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking small.
Like Bella.
About 6 years. Don't go beyond that. I'm sure I'll probably get mom or my brother saying, you should know this age.
Yeah, don't worry. I don't even get it right with my own kids. So
I mean, with my sister, it was, okay, we'll go for the weekend, pick her up, bring her back home. So she'll be home for the weekend, and then we'll take her back. So it was a fully functional care home at the time. Because obviously my parents had to work. They obviously had to support us, 3 other kids at home. So at the time, that was the best option for them. And later on, as services started cutting back, which we're all very used to within the special needs and disability community, she then moved back home, and she's been home ever since. So I would say she's been home for about 20 years on and off. And it just made sense that she's home now. Why unsettle her? Keep her at home.
Right.
So now we maintain having both my brother, my twin brother, and my sister at home, while the rest of us around the family are constantly running around to make sure that their needs are solely met first.
Wow.
In order for us to then go on and do what we need to for our own professional growth, as well as life once.
Right. That's tremendous. And we talk about that too, like having that support system or having the ability to have, a community, a small community and a nuclear family like yourself, where you have all of that ability to have that support, which is huge, because we talk about that all the time. When you have the single moms who are battling that, it's the weight of having to tend to your child, and it's immense, and I can imagine. But that is fortunate that you have that situation. And it's great for your siblings, I'm sure, to be home in that life where, it sounds like you guys are awesome. You guys have a great relationship. So that's, really fortunate.
Well, and I think too, it speaks to the fact that, like, as we know that, like, even with that support system, it probably, and tell us if I'm wrong, like it must still get lonely as a caregiver, even with that support system.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, it also comes down to time management as well, right?
Yeah.
As much as you're there to take care of them for their needs, and we all will do that, at some point you need to step back and have a break yourself, because it can get emotionally tiring. It can get physically tiring some days if they don't sleep throughout the night or interrupted sleep. Now, we all struggle with not that great a sleep on a good night. But if you have this extra responsibility, when do you mentally switch off? Right. You're thinking, have I done this? Have I done that? Has the breakfast been prepped for the morning, or is there milk in the fridge? So small little things. You need to then try and force yourself in a way to step back and say, you know what? It's fine. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. They're safe. They're well. They're in a warm environment, a nurturing environment. That's all there needs to be. And yeah, at the beginning, we never had any family in the UK, external families, so cousins, aunts and uncles. So our neighbors became our close confidants that would help my parents as and when needed. If they felt, sometimes they'd randomly drop off food packages, which was great. And other times it would be maybe a bit too much food.
Yeah.
But
right.
Again, it's knowing that you have that support structure in lots of different ways. And then as and when some family abroad moved to the UK, it just bolstered that support network that I can now take that break, or mom can then have a break, or dad can now go and have a break, because there are other people to step in. And even if they're not necessarily stepping in, they're checking it and just saying, look, everything okay? And just having those general chit chats, which everyone enjoys, rather than how is Miro, how is Prasad, how is it, just talking about, oh, do you see the news, or this is happening in this country, or do you see this movie? To just kind of reset everything, so it helps mentally switch off as well.
Yeah.
And just makes us all feel as though we're part of that wider community, rather than we're dealing with special needs or learning disabilities and everything that goes with it. Being a caregiver, we're only a caregiver. So there's lots of different facets to it, as I'm sure you already know.
Well, I think you brought up a really good point that gets forgotten. And I don't know if this is a cultural difference or, for something that's specific here to America that I notice a lot that gets forgotten. Here in America, there's a culture of, I'm going to mind my own business. You're doing your thing. I'm not going to bother you. And very often, and to flip the coin on that, there's also a culture of, I've got this. I'm on my own. I'm independent. I'm strong. I'm doing this. So you don't reach out your hand for asking. You don't communicate, and someone won't say, hey, I'm going to drop off a meal. Hey, I'm going to check in on you. Hey, I'm going to come over and let's chat about anything that's going on. It just doesn't happen. So that community doesn't necessarily get built here, but there's that social media community and that's it. But it's so almost more lonely because you're watching everybody's great life pass by. And you're like, oh, I shared this. I liked that. But the actual physical community doesn't really happen here. And I think that it should much more. You know, we talk about it. If someone passes away, someone starts a meal train, and that happens occasionally if it's a really tragic something. But other than that, you just don't check in on people, and you don't know what's going on in their life.
There's two opposite ends of the spectrum, which constantly happen on a regular basis. But it's just knowing that someone is there to be able to check in.
Yes.
And we've spoken a lot about it over the last few months in the news with the pandemic that's going in. Just check in, have these conversations. But is it actually genuinely there? Sometimes it's not. And I guess from a caregiver's point of view, we find it difficult to ask for help, because we're so used to having our finger on the pulse that we need to get things done. Yeah. It's almost regimental, military style, that bam, 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 this time this has to happen. There's no leeway of, okay, we'll do it in 10, 15 minutes. No, it has to be done now. It has to be done now. And that just becomes a habit. And as much as there's nothing wrong with it, it doesn't allow that room to nurture yourself and to be able to grow sometimes. Sometimes it can be an inhibition. And within that, we struggle to ask for that help because we feel if someone's coming in to help, are they going to be able to maintain the same routine and schedule that we have built up? Because naturally, anyone with some sort of intellectual or physical disability has a certain routine they want to maintain. Now, if you're a caregiver, especially a family member as a caregiver, my experience, you're more stuck to that routine. And even 2 or 3 minutes here and there, it's as though a volcano is erupted. And like, how dare you? You can't do these things. And like, actually, you can. It's fine. It's still going to get done, but probably not in the same way you want it done. But the end result is still going to be there.
Yeah, and I've even had to tell myself, I've noticed this, had to learn that, like, sometimes that result of it didn't get done the right way or the way that I think it, you know, it's going to need to be done because otherwise there's going to be a meltdown or something's going to happen. That reaction is usually only to me. But if we have a babysitter or someone and they do it a different way, they don't necessarily always react in that same meltdown fashion. And I'm always like, what? Sometimes I'm almost like annoyed. I'm like, well, why wouldn't they? But I don't actually
give
want
you a hard time like
that to happen.
To me. I know.
Yeah, but...
Oh, I know you get mad about that.
I don't really want...
I'm like, no, I just did this. And she'd be like, they let you? The kids let you do that? Yeah, no, it's fine. It was fine.
Dare they?
Yeah.
But I think it's because...
but that's the thing. It's everyone's got their own way of their own perception of what needs to be done. I mean, there's only very few things on the planet scientifically proven that are actually as it is. Mm-hmm. So we all breathe air, we all excrete air. So it's small little things, but in terms of our actions, there's old sayings, I'm sure, in the US, there are quite a few, that there's multiple ways to get a job done. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But as caregivers, especially as a primary caregiver, my parents being a prime example, or myself, we are very stuck to this routine. I know I am for myself because I've seen my parents do it. So like, okay, it works for them. This is how it needs to be maintained. Yeah. So if a carer comes in, and we have external carers coming in just to alleviate some of the pressure that's put on us, and they do it somewhere completely different, or they prepare their food differently, or they prepare their cupboard in a different way. And we're like, no, shirts here, socks here, food needs to be prepared X, Y, and Z. Because our conception is that when we open the cupboard door, we need to know where it is. Yeah. If it's in the middle of the night, doesn't matter the time of day, I should be able to close my eyes, go straight to it, pick it up, and that's what it is.
Well, time is of the essence too.
Absolutely. And the thing is, there's nothing right or wrong about it. Right. And sometimes I find that as caregivers, and this is something that I've noticed by having different conversations with people around the world that I've connected through the video and various support groups, that we just lack a sense of routine. We just get so happy with that routine that we don't want it to break.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas there's nothing right or wrong about it.
Sometimes I wonder if I became a type A personality or if I already was one, because everyone we talk to seems to be type A personality. I'm like, wonder if we were just created, if we just happened to all be type A, or did we become type A person?
No, you weren't always like this. You used to be fun.
Out of necessity.
Well, why type A? You could be another letter, right?
Yeah, I'm going to make one up.
You could be a number if you wanted to.
Yeah, I like that.
But again, it's throughout life, and it's a societal thing as well. We start fixating labels onto things and people rather than just being very present and living in the moment and just dealing with the moment. We start adding emotions onto it, like crying, panicking, frustration. It could be something that's come out of an experience from when we've been a child. I know from when I've been a child and I saw my brother being very hyperactive or ripping up a magazine, so to speak, because he was just trying to irritate everyone. But I may have perceived that to be something completely different, that he's maybe attention seeking. And then obviously most daughters are the apples of their dad's eye. So I would think, okay, why is dad always going to my sister? And like, hang on, I'm the baby of the house. Right. I insist I'm the baby on the house. Why am I not getting seen to? And they're older than me. But again, these are the emotions that we're adding onto it, which sometimes gets to us more than it actually needs to.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Now, as you know, like you just said, I mean, most of your childhood was your childhood. It was your perception of reality, right? It's your reality. You didn't know any different, which I think is a great, as a parent with children and in one child who is, you know, sometimes of a caregiver role, which we try our best to kind of balance that. So she's not so much of a caregiver sometimes, because right now she's 12 and where, you know, she doesn't need to be, but there are times that she steps into that. I mean, even right now, and we do know, I mean, I've said this a lot, like she's older, she's at babysitting age. Other siblings are babysitting too. That's just her age range. But you know, she does a little extra because he needs a little extra. So we try to kind of be aware of that. But I think and get concerned sometimes, are we giving her too much responsibility? How is she feeling about that? Are we affecting her down the line? I'm overthinking it as a parent.
Definitely.
How much, you know, do you feel now looking back? You're funny. Do you feel now looking back as an adult, did you feel that you had too much responsibility as a kid? You know, how does it affect you now?
Interesting question. My flat answer to that is no. At the time, I think it was more confusion, trying to understand that, okay, this is a big world. These are the things that I'm learning in school. Where does that fit into home? Or these are the things I'm doing at home. Where does that fit into school? Yeah. So indirectly, I created two separate worlds. So home was home, didn't share home at school because no one outside of the home would understand, and you don't share school at home because once you come home, you don't have time to sit down and do everything. Rather sit down, have your dinner, do your studies, get washed up, go to bed, and then the next day starts all over again. So from a cultural point of view in the UK, it's not something that's openly spoken about. And I know in the Asian community generally, I'm talking from my own perspective. I'm not generalizing that. Again, it's one of those things that people don't like to openly talk about, to say that we have a brother and sister with a special needs or a disability. I mean, when was the last time any of us went to, say, a wedding or a big function, non-family orientated, when there was someone with a disability? Could be someone in a wheelchair or someone who has, say, cerebral palsy or any different avenues of disabilities or special needs. They just don't seem to be there. Very few. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Right. And this is the thing, that because I made them two separate worlds over such a long period of time, it became normality. But it got to a point where you're then stretching yourself over so many different areas of life because you want to enjoy being a kid and growing up and the same things that everyone else does. But at the same time, you want to maintain your responsibilities at home.
Right.
Because you don't want, for me, I didn't want my parents to go through it alone.
Right.
I mean, they had their friends, their support networks. But again, I took it on as I'm a member of this household. I'm the son in this house. I've got to equally step up to the plate, because at some point, we hate to have those conversations. It's going to come back to myself and my other brother.
Right.
So we need to be able to take over the mantelpiece, so to speak, and understand the dynamics and the severe complexity of everything that it takes, be it from a state level, the financial impacts, the decision-making, the everyday, to talking to clinicians, to really get to grips and understand it from the basics. So the sooner we got involved in it, the sooner we would have a better idea. And as we all know, things from a clinician's point of view constantly keeps changing.
Yeah.
Constantly feeling as though you have to put on the armor, the helmet, the guards and everything and go for a full-out fight, even though you don't want to, because it's, again, like we've spoken about previously, when you go to a hospital or you see any clinician or anyone really, their first response is, how do I deal with this?
Yep.
Not the fact that this is another human being. It's irrelevant how you deal with it.
Yes.
You deal with it the same way you deal with anyone else. But because they're not trained or they don't have the experience to deal with it on the cuff of the hat like they would with everything else, it then takes another 5-10 minutes for them to calm down and them to get to grips, rather than just treating them like a human being, but just adapting it in a different way, which they would do for any other human, right?
Well, I think that in general, I mean, we've seen it here. I think that there's been a shift in that world right now where they're trying to get back to it. But for a while there, it's been, you've got 15 minutes to see a patient, you're in, you're out. So that humanity part of it has been almost trained out of clinicians. And so they've got 15 minutes. There's no time for that humanity part. We're in, we're out, we're going to talk about it. So a lot of times I had noticed in the beginning, like no one was even looking at him, talking to him. It was black and white. We're in and out. Tell me about the diagnosis. Tell me about this. Okay, bye. And I was like, hey, can we talk about how things have changed? What I've been seeing? Talk to him, look at him, notice the things that I'm noticing, like have him walk a little bit.
They don't want to know.
So we switched hospitals.
Well, because then it's more to do. Honestly, when you talk about that, and you're adding more variables.
Yeah,
like
and
these,
it's more
these
work
doctors
for
are
them.
like, okay, fine. Well, now I got to introduce you to the specialist.
And
now
we
we're gonna
saw
talk about-
that, yeah.
So I'm like, and I understand. I mean, on both sides, they're trying to do a job and they're trying to do the best that they can. There's so many like
healthcare costs are very high. So
I know
for what we pay.
Yeah, but the thing is it more about healthcare or is it more about numbers?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. In recent times, it's become you've got a set quota that you need to get done in, say, per shift or per hospital or per ward.
Yep.
Get it done. Because if you don't, then our funding drops or so many other different variables that contribute to it, rather than
it's a business.
Okay, just give us that extra 5 minutes. And rather than speaking to them directly with the notion of, no, they are the patient, we can only speak to them. Hello, we're the caregiver. We're with them on a regular basis, if not every day.
Right.
We can probably give you a few extra insights into what you're trying to figure out 5 times quicker than you can get to it.
Right.
And
it could
give
be
you more
the
info.
smallest thing by their facial expression or something that they may do that triggers you to, okay, that's what it is.
Yes.
And then you tell the doctor rather than saying, are you okay? Is anything hurting? Is this? And if the person is nonverbal, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It makes it that much more tricky for them. So I do get where they're coming from, but I strongly believe that more communication needs to happen between clinicians as well as the caregivers. And it's not just clinicians. I'm not just going to blame them. It's restaurateurs. It's the entire spectrum outside of people who've got special needs and learning disabilities and caregivers.
Well, I think the more it gets like this, the more conversation that happens, the more it's recognized and the more people are just aware. And when you're out at a restaurant, or you're out anywhere, the more, instead of speaking, you're speaking to the whole You're just fully having a conversation as if you're having a conversation at a table. I think that's the biggest thing that I've noticed, like even when we're out, you know, because Eddie uses his wheelchair for long distance. So it's very rare that we have it with us. But when we do sometimes, I've noticed a big shift in how he's treated. And I'm just like, nothing has changed. Except for how he's getting around. And then all of a sudden someone's vocal range is in a different spot or their tone has changed and how cute he is all of a sudden. And he is cute. Don't get me wrong. That doesn't change, but it's just how we're speaking to him or a little kid will say something to their mom. And instead of just saying, oh, what's your wheelchair for? And Eddie will just tell them we're whispers, which 100%,
or don't stare.
100%.
You can ask.
Stares, I hate those stares.
Yeah, and so
and you
easy.
can feel the eyes that are somewhere there in the background. You're like,
and it's all ignorance.
Come over and say something, but I don't want to.
Yeah, and I don't want to and it's all just them just not knowing enough. Like it's not out of anything that they're trying to be mean or anything like that. They're really just trying
Children are just naturally curious.
It's not even just children, even adults. Like I don't think anyone's being mean-spirited. I think they just don't know the right way. And if somebody is uncomfortable, which I totally understand, I've even in myself found myself in a situation where if you don't know what you don't know, you're uncomfortable and you might say or do. I always liken it to, and we all know, anyone who knows me knows I do this. I've not once handled a funeral or a wake in the right way. I always say the wrong thing. I always do the wrong thing. I handle the whole situation incorrectly.
And I'm stuck with her at these events. So everybody's like, oh, look at these two. And I'm like, it's not me. I'm the good hugger. I'm the good one.
That's how I think about it. It's not because I don't mean well. I just do not handle the situation well. I get nervous. And then I just fumble over the situation. I think that's probably what's happening. So I either have an opportunity to educate and I can, even if maybe I'm in a mental crappy headspace, maybe I know that it's not my responsibility to teach the world because sometimes I'm just having a shitty day and I don't want to do that. But some days I'm like, okay, this is the day I'm going to just say, no problem. If you want to come over and ask him why his wheels light up and just nicely do it because inside I just want to be like, just ask him. But I have to take a breath and be an educator at that moment because otherwise the world isn't going to know the right way to handle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's similar to what you just mentioned. There's a large amount of ignorance that is out there. And I guess in today's culture and community, especially growing up, there's what do you say? And if you say it the wrong way, am I then going to get sued or am I then going to have some sort of fine thrown on me? I mean, it's not a bad thing to have these open conversations, but you can also see it the other side that people are reluctant to have these conversations because out of fear of what is the ramifications going to be? Is something going to come back? Some people really don't give two hoots about it. I did have to cover up some of the words I was going to say.
You can say
you
them
can
on
swear
here.
on this podcast. It's the best thing about this thing.
No, don't, because it won't stop. We'll save that for a blooper session.
Okay.
Again, it's similar to when you see someone who's got, say, is in a wheelchair or has a disability, or even more commonly, a mother with a pram trying to get into the car.
Yes.
Do you help? Do you not? Some people instinctively will jump off, but some people are like, okay, I'll help, but what is someone else going to say?
Right.
Or they may take their help to be that I've got sympathy on, I'm being sympathetic rather than being empathetic. So I think it's a very fine line between the judgment of what is being sympathetic and what is being empathetic. Because from a caregiver's point of view, I would rather the empathy rather than sympathy. Yes. Sympathy, I can go back home and cry my eyes out if I was going to or to a support group who understand it. But from the general overall community who are not in that place, empathy is such a powerful thing. And even if it's one or two words, or you're okay, or do you want me to hold the pram, the wheelchair, or the door? Small little things like that have made an enormous impact on that person's day and even the next couple of days. Because again, similar to the video that I created, we all have good days, we all have bad days, we all have the in-between days, could have been better, or the other days where we're lapping ice cream because it's been a fantastic day and we've got everything out of the way so soon. But
right.
Well, I think
isn't everything in life like that?
Yeah, I think exactly what you just said, like the sympathy versus empathy. I think the way you know which one is or what to do, just go with your gut. And we've all had that moment where you see something and you're not exactly sure what to do. Your gut happens and you're like, do that. The second that exactly. gut moment, you feel something, just do it and go with it. What is the worst? I mean, worst case scenario, they're going to tell you to screw off and you're done and you're bad and that's it. And you feel kind of crappy, but you at least made that attempt to do the right thing, and it doesn't work out. Okay. But you can walk away knowing, okay, I might've done that wrong, but at least I tried. The other flip side, they're on their own.
Correct. I mean, that person may tell you to screw off because they're having one of those bad days.
Yes.
Yep.
Or maybe in just that moment that they've just got so flustered with everything that they're having to deal with, it just got on top of them.
Yep.
Came to them 2 minutes earlier, or while you were deciding what your gut should do, if you acted on your instinct and, okay, I've seen that, gotta help. That split second could be all it took for them to completely come down to neutrality and say, you know what, thank you.
Yep.
Or even just a simple thank you very much. Or, you know what, I've got it, it's okay, but thank you for offering.
Yep.
All you've got to do, and that'll have such a big impact on myself, if that was for me, as well as the person you're trying to help.
Yeah.
I just gotta edit when I called her the wrong name.
Listen, this editing is taking forever. I have to go grocery shopping.
Yeah. That's why you should go to Instacart right now. They connect you with a personal shopper in your local area to deliver groceries from your favorite stores. Instacart delivers groceries in as fast as 1 hour.
Hey, listeners, by following the link in our show notes, you help support our show. By doing this, Instacart is offering our listeners free delivery on your first order over $35. So now I think this is a perfect transition. I mean, speaking on empathy, your docudrama, This Is Me, really, I think speaks on that for sure. How did this come about? What inspired it? I mean, my assumption is, your life inspired it, but tell us a little bit about how it came about.
Okay, where do we start with this? So I'll give you a bit of background content. So about 3.5 years ago, I had open heart surgery.
Oh, wow.
Geez.
Very, very randomly fell ill, got the usual winter bug that usually goes around. But that progressively got worse and worse, got admitted to hospital. And then after a couple of days in hospital, after a day in hospital, they said, look, you've got a heart issue. Okay. So a couple of tests, forward. So fast forwarding a couple of months, I then got told, by the way, you need open heart surgery. And I had no idea about this until I was going into a CT scan machine.
Wow.
MRI, sorry. Halfway in, doctor comes in and says, by the way, this is your scan for your heart surgery.
So you're like on the little conveyor belt. They're like, you'll need surgery when you come back. Bye.
I know I've had a similar experience.
And by the way, you can't move while you're on this tray thing that goes into the machine.
As the noise scares the shit out of you. And go,
Yeah, it's the worst.
Correct. And I was like, what surgery? It's like, oh, you didn't know. Yeah, my face and my reaction shows that I'm completely 100% about the surgery. He was like, right, so we need to have this conversation. But anyway, we'll save that for another day. So fast forwarding that, I had the surgery, came out, and for first 4 months, I couldn't see anyone. I was in complete isolation.
oh my gosh.
Couldn't see my siblings. It was only my wife, mom, because of her medical background, and immediate family. So everything else was completely topsy-turvy. Spend more time watching YouTube than I did anything else, sleeping during the day, YouTube at night. And FYI, there are some very random videos on YouTube.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Insanely random, but at least I got to catch up on some old classics, Tom and Jerry, Garfield, Simpsons, to name some. And then, so it's within that, I started thinking, you know what, there's got to be something here for siblings, such as myself, because there's a lot of support groups which have touched on earlier for the parents of, the clinicians of, for key workers, the overall professional stuff that take care of the everyday things. But what is there for the siblings? Someone like myself who has brothers and sisters like this, and I know in the area I'm in, there are a few of them. So if that's just my area, what is there in the country as well as globally? So I started doing a lot of research into it. Some good, some bad, lots of indifferent stories, and finally came across a charity in the UK called Sibs UK, which was fantastic. So after I could start moving around post-rehabilitation, contacted them, went to one of their national meetings that they had, and just said, look, hey, I'm so-and-so, I've got 2 siblings with special needs. And the weight that came off my shoulder, because I'm now able to share this with someone or a community that understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was so SIBS as a charity works for only the siblings. So my wife wouldn't have been able to come to it. My parents wouldn't have been able to, because there's certain emotions and feelings that only a SIB could resonate with.
Right.
So that was one good thing. So while I was there, I was very conscious that I was the only or one of the only ethnic minorities there. And this is a room of probably 50, 60 odd people.
Wow.
So hang on, this can't be right, because I know there are more out there.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one. If I was there, I'd be singing and dancing about it to an extent. But,
Right.
so I had a conversation with them, and I said, look, am I the only one? They were like, you're the only one who's willing to take that step forward and have that conversation.
Wow.
And come to our events. I was like, so that struck me. I was like, really? That's surprising. So I got home, and a couple of days later, one of the organizers sent me an email and said, look, do you mind writing a case study on your experiences of having siblings with special needs? So I wrote that. It took me a year. Like most things, where do you start?
Right.
Yeah.
How do you start documenting your first feeling, the first notions of what it was like, the weather, the this, that. I came home from work, switch on the laptop, and I was like, it's getting done tonight. I don't care how it's going to get done, it's going to get done. So did that, submitted to them. They were more than happy. I did give them the option of changing things if they needed to, or they said, no, we love it the way it is. So that was the birth of the case study. Fast forward a couple of weeks where I was sitting for dinner with a couple of friends in London, and his wife turned around and said, why didn't you turn this into like a YouTube video?
Yeah.
Or a Vimeo video? And I was like, it was hard enough putting it into words.
Yeah.
Where would I start finding someone who can video it? Because it's not something I can do, because I have no idea in the concept of filmmaking. So incidentally, her husband, who has a small film company, said, you know what, I'll do it.
You know what?
That's how it happens, though.
That is awesome.
That's how it happened. They say a lot of things happen, a lot of good deals happen in restaurants or golf courses. I completely concur with this, because the food was amazing. The company was great. Could have been better if my wife was there, but I think she was traveling. I had to get that dig in.
She wasn't there.
It just worked.
Wow.
She was traveling. I think she was in New York visiting her parents at the time. So that's pretty much how it came. And incidentally, the following day, the charity came forward and said, look, would you mind turning this into a video so we can show it to our funders and the people in our network?
You're like, by the way.
So, hang on. The charity is asking me. Yeah. The charity is asking me. Some friends have asked me to do it. because they feel the visual impact will be there, not just in written. I thought, okay, there's something here. There's something happening that I'm resistant to. So let me just give up the case study and let's just see where it goes. So I handed over the case study to him that night at the restaurant. He took it away, sat down with another member of the company that he has, and they wrote the entire script. They gave it to me, and the script writer, his name is Jags, said, look, if you want to change anything, change it, but please tell me. We had conversations about it. I said, no, more than happy. He was like, but there's got to be something. And so he was looking for something to be changed. I was like, no, you've nailed every single bit.
Yeah.
From the script to the visualization. The narration of it was completely his. And the visualization was thanks to the owner of this company, Narinder. So the two combined created This Is Me. Nice. And it was in the living room where we came up with the title. We pondered for a couple of hours of what do we call it? Would this have an impact? Would that? I just turned around and said, you know what? It is as it is. This is me. People like it. They like it. They don't. In that moment, This Is Me was formed.
Yeah.
And that's where we are today.
It's great. I mean, it had an impact for sure on us.
Definitely.
We clicked it on and we were like, okay, let's check it out. Let's see what this is. And I think it's more than just, this is a story of a sibling caretaker. It's a story of that. Plus, what it's like to be a caretaker. And you guys pretty quickly on hit home of visually how it feels to kind of feel alone, even when you're not alone in it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just, it is, it's funny, like, our life is so different, but similar in a different way. Like, just be like when you mentioned it before, like on a regular basis, I can be running around doing 1,000 things. In my brain, there's 1,000 more going on. I'm thinking about, okay, tomorrow, what's on the agenda? I have to make sure I have this, I have this. It's exhausting and it's tiring. And so I'll have friends or family members that'll say, well, that, like when we took this vacation, I was like, we need a vacation. Everyone's like, well, everybody needs a vacation. We're in COVID. I'm like, no, I don't think anyone understands how badly, like I'm going to have a nervous breakdown if we don't just get a few days to completely reset without the kids, because it's not the kids that we need the reset from. It's the nonstop 24/7.
Yeah. Let's be honest, the kids are like 20%. I mean, they're percentage.
Parenting is caretaking as a whole.
Right.
And then you add the extra onto it, and then just life. And it was just, we were at a point where I think we were just really burned out, and we were recognizing it. And I think, I get it. There's probably a lot of people that are burned out and need a vacation, and COVID is burning people out. But I'm not going to apologize for being able to say, hey, I'm burned out and I need this and I'm going to do this for myself. We're not going to apologize for needing those few days. You can't. Because
absolutely. We shouldn't do. Woo, kudos to you.
Yeah.
The people that are able to stand up and to say, look, I'm burning out, or I need to take a step off the accelerator. Mm-hmm. Someone please just step in, even if they're there to have a cup of tea with yourself or to just go for a walk with yourself. Just that 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, to allow you to switch off is extremely beneficial.
Well, and I think we learned from this that we probably wouldn't have gotten to that level of burnout if we had done exactly what you just said. Taking a little time out here and there would not have gotten to that level of burnout.
Do you remember when the last burnout nearly came?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to learn our lesson.
That's the thing. This is the thing. We keep saying we're going to learn.
I know.
I'm equally culprit to it. But the thing is, we get so consumed within everything that needs to get done. And like you just alluded to earlier, that you've got 1,000 things to do. If you're doing this, you got to do that. But it takes that one phone call, that one text message or SMS to say so-and-so is a little unwell. Suddenly everything breaks down. You're like, okay, I've got a mountain here. I now have to throw other things that, okay, why are they unwell? Or haven't I given this medicine? Or haven't they eaten this? Or have they fallen somewhere? Or do I have taken to a clinician? Or is there someone that can help me? We then add all these things on rather than just saying, well, hang on, it's cold outside. It probably just got a simple cold.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we add everything on, and that speeds up our process of getting to that burnout point. I've seen it way too many times for myself, and I keep telling myself I'm not going there.
Yeah.
But I think it just comes with being a caregiver. It happens. I guess parents would also go through that point, just taking care of their kids. At some point, you get to that point where you're like,
oh, Kristen's there.
Out. You're just having a closed room time, scream, shout, do whatever, neutralize yourself and calm. And hey, how are you? Hug your kid and carry on. But where do we have that as caregivers?
Yeah, I think.
Which is why we have to be very regimental and factor it in. It's extremely important.
Yeah, that's what I think. I've learned that I'm not going to be annoyed when I see friends that are like, I go to the gym 3 times a week. And I'm like, what? But you know what? Good for you. You take 3 times a week to just do something. Like, I'm going to do something like that. I don't know when or what. I always say I'm too tired. But you know what? I'm too tired because I'm not doing that.
Look at you grow as a person,
I'm
Kristen.
I'm growing. This vacation was so good for me.
I know.
Vacations are great, but the thing is, you're tired, not from a physical point of view, but more of a mental point of view.
Yes, exactly.
Which we spoke about earlier. You're not able to switch off because there's always something you're constantly thinking about.
Yes, that's exactly. Your brain is always going. It's like a hamster wheel.
Yeah, but the thing is, within all of that, look at some of the things that, say, a young caregiver is developing, or someone who develops into this from a young age. They learn resilience. They learn the true meaning of humanity, being able to take care of someone else, which is true, unaffected love rather than romance and everything else, which is great. She's not listening, so that's fine. But and I had this at a workshop which I did last year where some kids kept asking, or even their parents, why me? I'm like, well, why not?
Yeah.
You're learning some seriously hard skills now. So when it comes to going to your first interview or going into the professional world, resilience, you've already got it. You've got it in bucket loads.
Yeah.
Determination, it's already there. Otherwise, you're not going to be here. Hardworking, already there. You probably got it before you were even born.
Yeah.
So it's these small little soft skills that you can really say, because when an interviewer or an employer comes back, says, okay, why do you think you're hardworking? Why do you think you have the skills? Let me show you a bit about my world. Watch that. And this is the thing. When my manager first saw it, I don't know why he chose to watch it at work. I walked in one day, had no idea, and he was like, why didn't you tell me? What am I going to tell you? That I've got this?
Yeah.
Why would I? I don't want it to affect my professional life.
Right.
Yes.
Because again, it's work is work, home is home. He's like, no, but if you need help, it's like, I've got this. I know what I need to do, when I need to do it. And I've got a support structure outside of here that allows me to do that. But it also works for the other members of that support structure, not just... So again, it's having these conversations similar to what you're creating and creating that presence that let's have that conversation. Let's have those open, free communications with different people within society to help start breaking down these artificial taboos that are for some reason there in our community and culture. Right. And it is globally. It's not just in London. It's not just in the US.
For sure.
It is a global issue.
I think a big, like you just said, I saw this firsthand in what you just said about, like going to work really hit home, because before we started this podcast, I had we had all these friends when we first started having kids and this group of close friends. And then as things progressed with our son and everything, it's not that we lost friends. It's just we kind of all went our separate ways. And in my brain, I was just like, well, they just don't understand our world. And that's okay, because their world is so different now. And we just did our thing and they did thing. And then it would get to the point where Eddie would say things like, we don't really have any friends. And well, they don't really understand my world, or their world's so different. And then we started this podcast, and, we do talk a lot about our life, even though we're talking about resources and things. And then I've gotten a few phone calls recently from, friends that I haven't talked to in a long time. And they'll say things like, I just didn't know exactly what your life was like.
Yeah.
And now we do. Why wouldn't you just, and I'm like, in my world, I'm like your world is so different. I wouldn't want you to feel like you'd have to jump into this or feel like it's a burden or I don't know. I guess I felt like a guilt almost. And so it's similar. Same with work. Like I wouldn't want to have this like stigma over me at work where they felt that they had to give me some leeway or like I work hard and I want that to present itself. But the other side of things is when things get hard, no one's giving you a break because they don't know there's something you actually do need a little bit of a break. So they have to know your life.
That comes from, again, being able to open up and talk and say, look, I need that extra like half an hour in the morning or I'm going to be a little late. Not to affect my work because I've got this, I've got to take care of it. And then I'll be in and then I'll be as effective. You want me to work later? That's fine. But then again, it also comes back to this topic of that fine line between sympathy and empathy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to friends. I completely resonate what you just said because once the video went live, I had some friends that I haven't spoken to since my college days that came back and said, we knew about your sister, we didn't know about your brother or vice versa. And why didn't you tell us? I was like, we're in college. Where?
Yeah.
Are we going to sit down and have a conversation about this in our first year of college?
Yeah.
Everyone's too busy enjoying college.
Yeah.
Things that everyone knows happens in college.
You're being very studious.
I don't remember that time at the party where everybody's like, hey, divulge your deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, but you could have told us. Okay, but at what stage within, say, the 3 or 4 years of being in college, were you in that mindset where you were willing to listen authentically without anything else going on about someone else's world?
Right.
And even if you were, how much would you actually process? Because your mind is probably thinking about your thesis or the next exam or when am I going back home or what am I going to have for dinner or, man, my socks mismatch. How did I not put the right socks on? Small little things like that. And he was like, yeah, but you should have stopped me. I was like,
no.
Be it then, be it now. No one is ever in that space to have that conversation. And it's not as though we don't try to have the conversation with people who aren't in that realm, because it just means that we're expanding our support network. But sometimes it's easier said than done because other people have other things going on. And it's not as though they don't want to be part of our world and vice versa. It's just that the things that they've going on are not more of a priority than the conversations that we potentially are going to have.
Right.
And again, it could be just in that moment. You speak to them at a different time. They'll be all ears.
Well, I think this platform is that important even more because you take out that level of formality and now someone just picks up a podcast, someone picks up YouTube, they're already scrolling through that level of how do you bring up this conversation without it being, for lack of a better word, a mood killer? Or I'm not saying, hey, we're going to talk about this big, heavy elephant in the room that's, a difficult conversation that might make you look at me a different way or whatever. Instead, you're just having, this thing is up on Facebook, on YouTube, like this podcast. I can just listen to it in the car or wherever. And now I'm involved. Now I'm interested. Now my mindset is different because I'm just thinking and I'm listening and, my view is different. That's, I think, why this media type is such much more impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess the benefit of social media, everyone's on the go in technology. And that was the other thing when I was talking to Narinder Jax about it. Narinder's the owner of Kick Action Films. Say, okay, how long are we going to have this? And my viewpoint had always been, as a carer, I don't have half an hour. If I've got half an hour, I've missed doing something.
Right.
And that was my viewpoint. So I was like, give it 10 minutes. If we can have it a little shorter, great, because that's enough time to sit down, have a cup of tea or have biscuit, have your breakfast, your bagels, your donuts, your coffee, whatever it may be. But it also is that few minutes where you can switch off, do something that you want to do, and then be straight back present into what you need to get done for the rest of the day.
And still have the impact.
So that's why we're very cautious. Yeah, that's why we're very cautious about the timing. In terms of the impact and the script writing, till date, I'm still blown away by the work that our director, Jax, had done. Because this is someone who's not got a first-hand experience of people with special needs and learning disabilities. So I've literally given him the case study.
Yeah.
Right.
Go for it. Good down. So for someone to be able to create that impact, that visualization without that background speaks volumes for the work that he actually does. And again, that too for Kick Action Films for putting it all together in such a short period of time.
Yeah, and getting across, multiple messages in that one, time frame. I think it speaks volumes, getting across a message of, hey, let's put out, representation. Hey, let's put out a, communication of, loneliness and what does it feel like to have on some level, I think there's a stigma around it, but like on some level, a mental illness of, hey, I'm alone. This is how I feel. I need to reach out to somebody. And then there's this third level, which, is so important. Like you said, there's someone else there to reach out to you to say, hey, do you need some help? Is there something I can do for you? Hey, here's a resource. Let me give that to you. There's just, so many levels involved that they captured in such a short amount of time, which I think is really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, biggest advocates that were supporting the three of us when we were putting it together was our wives. So we have to give them their due diligence and their support.
Look at you. That was good. Good husband.
The late nights, because obviously filming, we wanted it to be in quiet areas, especially for the narration, and all the support that they had given us. It's just been amazing. To be fair, when we put it out there, we only wanted maybe 500 views if we were lucky. But to be able to have the video seen by over 25,000 people, 64 different countries globally, some countries I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Just speaks volume for that. There is obviously something there that people are resonating with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think it, like you said, it impacts everybody. There's nobody it doesn't affect. It's the same everywhere. We're all going through the same thing, no matter where you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now tell us a little bit. Now you're doing a vlog as well, kind of piggybacked off of this. Did this come after? I'm assuming this came after the docudrama. So, what are you doing with the vlog? Tell us a little bit about that.
So the vlog came, a little bit after the video went live. The video went live at the beginning of January this year. And I didn't want it to be a one-hit wonder. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want the whole "this is me" to just be, here's a video, that's it.
Right.
Pack it up, let's call it a day. To be able to see that impact, 25,000 people in 6 months, I think it was, for me, was unheard of.
Yeah.
Even now, I'm still scratching my head saying, really? I've kept seeing the numbers on a regular basis to the extent my wife was like, can you stop looking at those numbers? But that's
you're not impressed.
I was like, hey, do you dig the numbers? Yeah. Didn't work, but I was so amazed by it. And so were the other guys and the rest of the team that form part of it. One of the characters actually works in the clinician background. She's a doctor. And even she jumped on board and said, you know what you're doing is fantastic. So the vlog came kind of as a second baby child. So we were contemplating with, okay, what do we do next? Do we create another video? Do we not? And I thought, let's create a vlog. Let's connect with people from the different areas of caregiving, be it from a mental health point of view, male caregivers, which is very rare because caregiving is more inherently a female-orientated background. But we're one for equal opportunities for everyone. So I thought, okay, let's get them on. And it's always good to understand and get a perspective of different viewpoints. So we created that, and again, that's blossomed into its own little thing. And recently we've been running a competition with a charity in India as well, again around special needs and learning disabilities. So it's really creating that platform for others to say, you know what, hey, I exist.
Yeah.
I'm not just in the corner dealing with so many different things, juggling so many different facets of life, but it's also giving them an outlet to say, you know what, I want to share something. This is what I enjoy doing. Okay, great. If you're a writer, contact us. Let's create something.
Yeah.
So it indirectly empowers them as well. And that's what we stand for, just empowering others just to live life as fully and as free as they can be, because anything is possible. And to use their experiences that they've already got to achieve the goals that they really want to get. And hey, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
I think that's great. I mean, I think that it's just another way to kind of continue to propel all of it forward and continue to get the word out there. And, you know, like you said, like relieve that stigma a little bit and get people talking and communicating and growing a network of people that need a community. I think that's going to be huge. I mean, there's lots of siblings out there who probably feel alone, and this is, you know, a huge opportunity for them to know that they're not. And if it gives them an opportunity to say, hey, let me look and see what's out there in my community, and if there's a network of people that I can connect with, then this is a great chance for them to kind of see that and know that. So I'm glad that we could help kind of bridge that gap.
Just on top of that is that we were fortunate enough to have won a couple of international film awards for it from various film festivals that it got entered into, courtesy of Kick Action Films. And one of the biggest areas I really wanted to have an impact is Asia, because there's a lot of support groups on social media as well as websites in the US or in Australia, New Zealand, that sort of thing. But there's not so much of it in Asia. And it's also a topic which isn't openly spoken about as freely as it is in the West or in a first world country as they call it. So for us, especially myself, that was one area which I really wanted to break into and saying, look, this happens. I'm an Asian. I've opened up. It happens to all of us. It's there. It's clearly there, especially when you go traveling. And surprisingly, one of the first awards that we received was from India.
That's exciting.
We've got it. Now let's really go to town with it. We've got our foot into the door. And since then, we've really been pushing within Asia. We've got, I haven't looked at the numbers recently, surprisingly, but we've got viewers in Malaysia, in Singapore, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, the Gulf. Again, even in the ABC Islands, South America. And I was like, where are the ABC Islands? I'd never even heard of it. And then they said, oh, you know Aruba. And then, everyone knows. And then, that little dot, which I always thought was a piece of dust on the map.
Well, I feel like that's really exciting, too, that, like, you know, being award winning there only heightens the awareness, and then is going in these countries where that is got a little bit of a stigma. It's going to be like, oh, hey, this is something I can talk about. This is something we can open up about. And if not only are people going to kind of reach out, branch out, it's going to be more of a thing there, but then hopefully it also creates more content, more of everything, and more representation in Asia, all around the world, to just kind of really, really, really get the ball rolling.
Correct. I think it's not just about the geographical location as well. It's also from a societal point of view that on the news, you hear quite a lot about Black Lives Matter and the paying community, but it's just to re-empower everyone. It doesn't matter what your background, your color, your creed, your community may be. At the end of the day, you're a human. You've still got feelings.
Right.
Let's have these open conversations.
Yes.
And if you're going through something that like this, great. I mean, just after the video went live, I got a phone call from a local well-known charity to say that if it wasn't for your video, one of their participants or users, whatever you want to call them, was actually considering ending their life. But there was something within the video that they had seen that they thought, you know what, there's got to be a better way. And ending things is not the answer. And thankfully, they took that step. What it was in the video, I don't know. But you want, if it saved that one person, how many more has it saved that I don't know about?
That's right.
Right.
And for us, that's all that we wanted, or that I wanted. When I heard that, and also a conversation I had with a very dear friend of mine in Gibraltar, who I went to college with, again, same sort of thing. There were more men opening up about their emotions after seeing that video. Some of them saying, dude, I'm close to breaking down into tears after seeing that. Why did you never tell me? And again, it goes back to the cycle of, okay, when did you want to hear about this?
Right.
It was right the wrong time. I'm just used to getting, he was like, you want, I just want to give you a big hug. And anyone who says that men are not emotional, yeah, right.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, we know in this house, let me tell you. No.
We're just more candid about how we show it. But again, I'm completely blown away. The entire team have, more so my parents, have just been completely blown away by the love and support and feedback that we've had from it. Because again, let me be very frank, none of this could have happened without my parents' support and well wishes.
Right.
Well, they must be proud. I mean, your wife. Yeah. They must be proud. I mean, they've created, I think, probably, you know, and you guys, I bet you, they don't even realize this. You don't even realize this, but probably a culture inside your home that's very
niche.
Yes, but also, yeah, you niche and unique and just loving, and it works. You know, it sounds like there was just a very good balance of, yes, you had some responsibility, but not more than you needed to have. You know, right. It sounds like you were a sibling as a sibling should be, a child as a child should be. You had some responsibility as a caretaker because that was your role in the household, and that's okay.
Absolutely. I mean,
sounds like your parents were great in balancing that.
Absolutely. My parents were very, very strong believers of, okay, this is your life. You've got to get an education, but you've also got to have that fine balance. And with you can add in hard work as well to it, even better. And that's the thing. I learned from a young age, as well as my other brother did, that we've got to grind. We've got to start from a young age and start building something, because no one knows what tomorrow is going to bring.
Yep.
And they really gave us every possible tool that we could have, from a cultural point of view, from a community point of view, as well as everything else that they've shown us. And just being as parents, and one of probably the biggest achievement I've been able to have, it may sound so simple, is to be able to sit with my parents and just have that open, frank conversation. Because there were some things in the videos my parents were like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
We never knew about that. I was like, okay, but do you remember this time?
Yeah.
This incident? And I was like, yes. This is where that came from. And it's the aha moment. And, we now understand why you did things at certain times. It wasn't that you were being rebellious. It was because you were trying to find your voice. And you didn't know how to, because you were suppressed with all these other things that were going on. So it seemed as though you were being rebellious, but actually you weren't. You were just trying to be heard. And now, love and abundance completely in the house. We still have our jokes. We still have our ups, our downs, like any other family would do. But you know what? We've got each other's back, as we always have. And that's the thing with all caregivers and with all people, regardless of whether you have special needs or be it intellectual or physical, there's always people outside of your immediate bubble who've got your back. You've just got to open up and talk, be it via a phone call or a text message, SMS, email, whatever it may be.
That's
nice.
Perfect advice. Well, I'm going to ask you for a little more advice if you don't mind. But we ask all our guests if they have 30 seconds to speak to their community, but there's no pressure on the 30 seconds thing, and I don't know why we ask it. What advice would you give to our community?
30 seconds, that's never long enough, I think. The advice is just go with your gut. Don't feel as though you're alone. Because you're not. I spent a lot of time thinking, okay, I'm alone. There's no one else that's going to be in a similar position with me. So I've got to get it done myself. I've got to figure it out myself. But you know what? The minute you crack that wall and you start opening yourself up and start exposing yourself, sometimes you've just got, the more skin you show, the better. That, hey, I'm here, I'm vulnerable, I need help. The more the world starts actually helping you and saying, you know what? Why don't you try this resource or why don't you try that resource? But openly embrace it, not from a point of, I don't need it, I've got it all figured, but just look into it because maybe there's something within what is presenting itself to you that can actually help benefit you or the people that are caregivers.
That's awesome.
Or even not yourself or your immediate, someone else you may know, the wider community, it may help them.
Yeah.
So just be open, show as much skin as you can, and just be comfortable with being vulnerable, because that's where the real power is. With every breakdown, there's a breakthrough to have. You've just got to really persist with it.
Be comfortable in your skin.
Yeah.
So what are you working on now? I mean, with COVID, it must be kind of not helping promote everything. You can't really get out there and travel and do everything you really wanted to do. So what are you working on now with promoting it and the vlog and all that stuff?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me about the lack of traveling.
I know, no worries. No one can travel. It's not just you.
I miss traveling. It's probably one of my best places to get respite. It's my way of switching off for a couple of days, jump on a flight, go somewhere, be able to completely switch off. So I miss heavily traveling. What am I working on? There's quite a few little projects are in its infancy and coming to development, but COVID indirectly has come at a right time. Not the pandemic, because no one ever wants that.
Right.
But because the video started taking on its own little life, it's given me that time to really knuckle down and say, okay, where do we want to take this next? Yeah. So we've got a couple of projects which are being written at the moment. We've got a miniature book which is being worked on at the moment, as well as some animations which are coming out. All the information will be on our website in the next couple of weeks. So that's pretty much what we're working on, and that should take us for the animation to the end of the year, and then the book hopefully sometime early next year will come up, and then we'll see wherever that goes. Hopefully by then we can start traveling, start seeing everyone again, and hopefully create more possibilities with everyone.
I was just going to say, you guys should create like a little book or something for kids.
Yeah, what's London like in the spring?
Fantastic.
There you go.
It's probably the best.
Great. All year round. Come along.
Don't worry, we'll be there.
And we can leave the kids at home. They'll have school and stuff.
Happy to babysit.
No, that's okay.
Whatever they want to call it.
So where can
London's great.
London is great. I mean,
Great
I don't know. UK, one of those things.
United Kingdom, England, Great Britain, London. There's so many words. It's
somewhere
an island in between Europe and the US. That's not Greenland or Iceland.
So where can everyone find you? Where can everyone find This Is Me?
So all the information, all our social handles, everything, just head over to officialthisisme.com, www.officialthisisme.com. All our information of the video is also there. All our social handles are there. And please feel free to drop us an email, contact us in whichever way you feel free.
Perfect.
Always willing to hear from people.
Awesome. Nice. We'll make sure that we link everything in the show notes for you so that everyone can connect with you, because I think that as we've said multiple times during this, like connecting with you guys specifically, I think is really important. Everyone needs to go check out the documentary on YouTube. It's needed right on the website. They can see it right on the website, right?
Yeah,
Perfect.
Everything's embedded on the website. We also just confirmed recently with a company in the US that we're creating some content around disabilities and special needs. So they're the middle go between an employee and the corporate world. So there's an organization who are creating that. So we are teaming up with them as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Jinx.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you coming on and chatting with us, Prakash. We're super pumped to have you. We were really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, again, that everybody needs to go check out This Is Me, because it was absolutely moving. It's very, very powerful. So.
Yes, you did a great job.
You guys take care. We'll catch up soon.
All right. Sounds good. So much. Have a good night.
Thanks for everything. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, thank you so much for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, please make sure you share with a friend and leave a review.
You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode on our Facebook or Instagram on @SpecialAboutSpecial. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.